Hello, people. Right, we're going to do this. We're going to do this because there's so much to get through. Oh, Moeen Ali. Guess who's back? Back again. Moeen Ali's back in the fold. And we've just had news come out that Stuart Broad is ruled out for the rest of the series. A huge blow. If you're looking at this, you're looking at it and probably thinking, hold on, he's on the squad list. He's gone. Stuart Broad is not playing in this series. Dom Bess is not in the squad. He's gone back to Yorkshire. Moeen Ali's come in. And on top of that, Anderson is a doubt for the second test match against India. So we're going to dive into England and what it means for them. Saqib Mahmood has been called up in replacement of Stuart Broad. And India, I mean, look, it was a draw in the first test match because of rain. They, though, are going to be looking to be extremely strong going into that second test match. And we're going to have a go at predicting the lineups. Obviously, it's going to be the second test match at Lord's. So the home of cricket, right? The home of cricket, where England won the World Cup, where cricket was born, and that famous slope at Lord's. Who's it going to favour more? If England had Anderson and Broad, you might say them. But without Anderson and Broad, England are going to be an absolute team in disarray potentially. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they go. Smayan says, hi Fazan, hi Smayan, how are you doing? Guys, let me know what you think of the news. So Stuart Broad has been ruled out of the series. They found a tear on an MRI for him, which is an absolute nightmare for England. Genuinely. Anderson is a doubt for the second test match. That means they're going to basically have their seam attack halved. Then you look at who else they played in that first test match. They had Ollie Robinson and Sam Curran. Sam Curran, are they going to play him? Did he perform well enough? He might have to play. And they've called up Saqib Mahmood. So Saqib Mahmood looks like he might get a go with Mark Wood, I guess. They'll probably come in. And then in terms of how do you deal with that? I don't know. I genuinely do not know, because England are now in a position where not only is their batting looking weak, but their bowling potentially, because look, it just depends on how these guys come in and perform, especially Saqib Mahmood, who's looked really good for England in T20 stuff. Sorry, in the ODI stuff, white ball stuff. He's performed very well for Lancashire in the test match arena as well, and the red ball stuff. But he hasn't performed for England yet. He hasn't, when I say performed, he hasn't actually got a test cap yet. So that makes a huge difference. In terms of predicted 11s, we'll get to that. But in terms of India, I guess the biggest questions for them are, do they go with the same team from the first test match, which I'm about to bring up because I think we should have a look at that. So let me just get rid of that. And we'll go over the lineup from the first test match. And I want to get your guys' thought on whether you think that will be is that going to be the lineup they go with? Are they going to go the same lineup, India, or are they going to go with a completely different lineup, one which maybe has more, I don't know, a bit more, it's Lords, so you'd expect them to go with more seam potentially, but I think that's going to happen. So let's have a look. So India obviously had Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul opening up. KL Rahul, I think, if you haven't scored runs, then you're looking at other people to potentially come in. Prithvi Shaw's not going to be available until the fourth test match anyway. Mayank Agarwal had a concussion. I don't know if he's available again, but if he is, he's not going to get into that team because KL Rahul scored a lot of runs. Pujara, Kohli and Rahane. Now there's big question marks around that axis for India, but they're not going to drop them, let's be honest. I mean, Kohli is undroppable. Rahane and Pujara have done it for so many years. I doubt they're going to be in trouble. And then Jadeja. I mean, Jadeja performed well with the bat. Obviously, hit a good 50. With the ball didn't really need to use him too much. Shardul Thakur bowled well, and so did Bumrah and Shami and Siraj. Do they, though, look towards Ashwin on a pitch which I don't know whether it's going to give him that much assistance at Lord's? But going into kind of days 4 and 5, potentially, you can look at the forecast. I think the forecast is a lot better for this test match. So it might be drier. It might get dustier. It's not going to be a dust bowl like we've seen, for example, in Chennai in India. That's not going to happen. But there will be a bit more there, I think, for the spinners. But it's going to be interesting to see. I reckon they're going to go with a pretty similar side. India, I don't see them changing it up too much. I think Ashwin, they'll probably try and fit him in. And I think the person who then drops out will be Shardul Thakur. Let's have a look here. Adil Sagia says, Wassalamu alaikum Fazan. You heard about Pakistan sending Haris and Nawaz back home. They won't take part in the West Indies Test series. So that's Mohammed, Nawaz and Haris Rolf. Well, not a big surprise. I don't think they'll be playing. I'm not surprised. And in fact, I'm looking forward to that Test series tomorrow as well. That's going to be fantastic. Ashwin says Shardul's injured. So if Shardul's injured, then what do they do? And what do you guys think? Shardul Thakur's injured. Do they bring in Ravi Ashwin, or do they bring in another seamer? Do they go with another seamer? I don't know. Like, it's a weird one because obviously Jadeja worked out well and the four seamers worked out well. Does Ishant Sharma come straight in? But then it really does weaken their batting, right? It really does, because you've got a proper tail from 8 downwards. Usher says Ashwin or Sharma. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm more inclined to go with Ashwin just because of the balance in terms of batting. Ashwin is good enough to, even on a wicket that's not turning, he is the premium spin bowler in the world. So to not play him, I think is, and this is a bit of a bad comparison, but I mean, if we're looking at kind of back in the day, like, would Australia not play Shane Warne? No, he'd play in every single Test match pretty much for the most part. And Ashwin, I think, is similar for India. Of course, not the same players. I'm not saying one's better than the other, etc. No one's saying that, but I think Ashwin, in terms of being a spinner for India, he has that importance. But because Jadeja is also a pretty good spinner as well in his own right, and also is very good with the bat and is a fantastic fielder, they then look towards that. Let's do the India predicted lineup first then, because I feel like the England one is the harder one to do. So I think realistically, and guys in the chat as well, Smayan, Adil, Ashid, let me know what your predicted lineups are for India first. So I'll go with India first. I reckon Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul definitely. Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, I think they're not going to drop any of them. Rishabh, Pant, I don't think they're going to drop either. And Ravi Jadeja will keep his place. I think they'll go with Ashwin, Bumrah, Shami, Siraj. It's a question, though, do they drop Siraj and bring Sharma back in? Or do they stick with Siraj is a big question as well. Let me know what you guys think. Adil says Broad is out for the England series and it's in a doubt. Yeah, exactly. So I said that at the start of the stream that Stuart Broad is ruled out of the entire series because they found a tear on an MRI scan. So he's out for the whole series. And Anderson is a serious doubt for the second Test match. So we're going to dive into the England predicted lineup and what I think and the options they have, because that is going to be a very much changed lineup, I think, going forward into that second Test match. Whereas with India, then apart from Shardul Thakur, there won't be any forced changes. Adil says Jadeja at 6. 1, 2. Oh, really? So then who do you drop then, Adil? So at the moment they've got Pant at 6. So who do you drop from that top 6 to elevate Jadeja up is the big question, Adil. And what's your lineup for India? Let me know. Because the issue is, right, if you put Jadeja at 6, then you're dropping either Pant, Rahane. Well, you can't drop Pant, he's the wicketkeeper. You're either dropping Rahane or Pujara, I guess, because Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul, they're staying in there. Virat Kohli's the captain. He's going to stay in there. So are India going to make an extremely brave decision and drop someone like Pujara and Rahane and then put Jadeja at 6, like you're saying, which I think would be crazy because their batting is, what for me, that's the kind of perceived weakness. If you don't have Shardul Thakur, an all-rounder there at 8. So that's kind of very, I think you're looking at a very deep tail then. Or do they do what I think they'll go with and try and go almost like for like with Ashwin in for Thakur and then do that? That's interesting. Drop Rahane, keep Pujara. Pujara is a rock. But then, Adil, do you think practically, if you drop Rahane, right? So they drop Rahane because he doesn't have, to be fair, him and Pujara don't have incredible records, right? They don't have incredible records in England. They don't. Pujara averages, I think, 20-something in England. Now, Rahane as well doesn't have a phenomenal record in England. He doesn't. And to be honest, most batsmen don't, because England is a very tough place. England, people forget, is a very tough place to bat. It's an extremely tough place to bat, especially with the red ball. You drop Rahane, though, Adil, right? So if India's struggling, people are looking at India's lineup and saying maybe the batting lineup is not deep enough. You drop Rahane, it has to be for a batsman. So who do you bring in batting-wise then for Rahane? Because moving everyone up one is not going to be good enough, I don't think. I think it's going to be... it would then really weaken the batting lineup, because if you've got, for example, you're moving Jadeja up and Bumrah up one, Bumrah at 8 is just, whoa. Like, too much. Absolutely too much, right? Jadeja at 6 is too high for me. Way too high. So I think they then need to look at it and say, well, how do we do it? So Thakur says, no one needs to be dropped. Even Sibley and Roy should be given a chance. So we're going to get on to England. So Thakur, what do you think of the India lineup? So Shardul Thakur is injured, so he will be dropping out. What do you guys think about the lineup? Give me your... Adil and Satakan, you guys are you're giving me some comments on it, but give me your 11. If you had to pick an 11 for India right now for the second test match, who are you picking? Adil says, how about Ishan Kishan? Bring him in. What position would but Ishan Kishan's not in the squad, I don't think. That's you got to look at it from a red ball point of view, right? Ishan Kishan's a good white ball player. Is he a fantastic red ball player? He doesn't have any experience, and he's not going to come in, let's be honest. Shubman Gill's injured, obviously, so not there. That's a big miss as well for India, of course, but I don't think they're going to want to be completely... you can't drop a batsman and then replace him with an all-rounder or a seamer. In this instance, India need to show up the batting, so if they're going to drop a batsman, they need to bring in a batsman. Do they bring in Vihari, for example? Vihari is a batting all-rounder, so you can kind of get away with that. But otherwise, you're in a absolute... you're in a mess, really, otherwise, if you don't do that. So I think they need to shore it up. So let me know what your guys' predicted 11s are before we move on to England, because England is where it's going to be really interesting, and we're going to see exactly where the big holes are going to be, because... England are going to be reeling potentially, and this could be a huge... Well, it will be a test of England's fortitude for sure, because I tell you what, it's going to be very, very tough. Very tough for England with no Broad, no Anderson, right? It's crazy. Yeah, so Clark says, can we get Ashwin in for Shardul? He has 4 test centuries, and Moeen is coming in for England. Yeah, so yeah, the Moeen part, guess he's back again. That's obviously the title of the thumbnail. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that is the most logical call, isn't it? That's the most logical decision for me, is to bring in Ravi Ashwin in for Shardul Thakur. Ravi Ashwin is the premier spinner in the world right now. He's good with the bat. I don't know, is he better with the bat than Shardul Thakur? Probably. But yeah. Skate says, yo, sorry, but I'm not really a fan of cricket. No worries at all. No worries at all. Just like the video, Sakaya. But yeah. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Like, genuinely, absolutely crazy, though, that Ashwin has 4 centuries, right? Very, very underrated, I think, Ravi Ashwin's batting ability. And I think even myself, like I've really underrated his ability at times, his batting ability. I definitely have. I can tell you that right now, because I've just thought, well, he's not that good, right? The way he bats is not... Like, you look at him bat and you don't think this guy looks class. There's some people you watch, like your Kohlis, your Rahanes, your Pants, for example, your Joe Roots, your Babar Azams. Those guys, you watch them bat and you just think, Williamson, those guys are just class. But, with some all-rounders, it doesn't necessarily matter about how good they are in terms of their technique, but how efficient are they at scoring runs, and he is very efficient. So Tata Shardul didn't score much in his first innings. Yeah, so if we look at Shardul Thakur, he only scored Yeah, well, you say he didn't score much, he got a duck, so that doesn't bode particularly well. Bumrah actually got 28, by the way, hit 6 and 3/4, so his batting has improved a lot. He didn't used to be able to hold a bat 2 months before. Adil Saga says Moeen Ali at 4, Root at 5, Hamid open with. This is really radical, Adil. This is really radical. First it was Jadeja at 6. Now you're saying Moeen Ali at 4 and Root at 5. So you drop Root down to 5 to have Moeen Ali at 4. Is there a bit of bias here, though, Adil? Because I think there is for me as well. I sometimes get a bit, I get a little bit carried away. So I think there might be a slight bias there. Okay, shall we look then at the England lineup? So Tal says he took 2 wickets and that's it. That's his contribution. Yeah. I think it's a bit harsh to say, he hasn't done well. I think he has. I think he has done well. I just think it's a question of, yeah, I don't know. Let's go to England. I think let's go to England. I'm going to go to the England possible 11, and then also we're going to talk about obviously some of the guys who have dropped out, etc. as well. So let's go on to that. I mean, the news for England right today has just been horrific. After what was a perceived, I guess, positive news that Moeen Ali's come back into it. They mess Moeen Ali around so much. It's incredible. But look, I mean, he's a class player. We know that. And I was surprised he wasn't included in the test squad to begin with. But I guess they went with Dom Bess and they haven't played Dom Bess. And now they've to be fair, they messed Dom Bess around a little bit as well, right? Because what's happened is they've sent him back to Yorkshire and he didn't play the first test match. So what's the point? Adil says Root's in form. He should give someone else a chance to get to form. But Adil, so this is what happens, right? When you're in form, though, you don't want to change anything up. If you're in form, what do? The famous saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So Joe Root is performing incredibly well at number 4. He doesn't want to go to 3. He doesn't want to go to 5. He's the captain. He's their best player. You want to get the best out of your best player as possible, right? So your team is molded around Joe Root. So Joe Root has to be at 4, and he has to stay there because that's where he's most comfortable. Moeen Ali, for me, and we'll have a look, I think he might even be in at 3, people were saying. He could be at 6, right? He could be at 6 instead of Josh Butler. Josh Butler might be at 7. He could even be at 5. I don't know. Because they played him in so many different positions. He's even opened for England in the past in Test cricket. And he's batted as low as 8. So he's batted in every position from 1 to 8 for England in a white jersey. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Now, obviously, for anyone that is tuning in and doesn't know, Stuart Broad is out of the entire series. So Stuart Broad will not be available for any of the Test matches. A huge blow for England. And James Anderson is a doubt for the second Test match. So this is what the most probable 11, according to ESPN Cricinfo, is what they're looking at. And I think this is pretty much, this is going to look similar to this. So Tar says, England team looks grim. Yeah, we're about to go through it. Adil says, Fazan, can you cover Chelsea versus Villarreal later on? I will not be able to. But you know what, guys? If you keep on supporting the channel, something like, guys, something... if you keep supporting the channel, something like football, for example, will be added to channels of sport. Adil says, okay, Root in first, then Moeen Ali. So, okay, you're saying Root at 3, Moeen Ali at 4. I don't think it's going to be that. It might be Moeen in first, then Root at 4. But yeah, anyway, so let's go through this. Then they're saying Rory Burns, Dom Sibley. So they're looking at both of the openers keeping their places, which is interesting. Zach Crawley or Haseeb Hameed. So that is Did you know that Zach Crawley has averaged 12 since that 267 last summer against Pakistan? So he's averaged 12. 12. Sorry, no. That's excluding that innings, right? Which, okay, you have to include it. But that was like a once-in-a-lifetime innings, genuinely. And he now averages 12 if you take that innings out. So that doesn't make good reading. Joe Root obviously at 4, Johnny Bester at 5. They're saying Butler at 6, Moeen Ali at 7, Sam Curran at 8, Ollie Robinson at 9, 10 Mark Wood, and then 11 either Craig Overton or Saqib Mahmood. So this is going to be very interesting. Now, I want you guys to let me know, one, what you think the lineup should be, and 2, what do you think it will be? So let me know, like put a lineup in the chat and then let me know what your lineup will be if you were to pick it, and then also what your lineup you think will be as well. Adil says, Haseeb Hamid might get the nod to start. Yeah, I think I can see him coming in for Dom Sibley or Zach Crawley, if I'm being honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's probably more likely that he'll come in the 3rd test match if they don't score again. I think they will try and keep with those 3. The reason why I say that is because they're going to have so many changes bowling-wise because of Anderson and Broad not being available that they probably don't want to change it up too much. And then Moeen Ali, they want to fit in there as well because, you know, they have to. And Dan Lawrence hasn't been in fantastic form, and they need a spinner. So I have one question. Well, I have a question. Will spinners play a role at the Oval? Of course they will. The Oval here in Surrey, where I live, is... Look, the Oval is one of the most spin-conducive pitches in England, so it's not going to turn from day 1. But when you get to day 3 onwards, it will turn, and especially day 4 and 5, it will grip, and it will be very helpful to the spinners. So a spin will play a very big part in that of the Oval if it goes deep into the Test match, which you'd hope it will. So let's see. In terms of the England 11, then I reckon, for me personally, they're going to go with Burns and Sibley. I think they're going to stick with Zach Crawley, Joe Root at 4. Bairstow at 5. I think they're going to go Moeen Ali at 6, Butler at 7. They'll stick with Butler at 7. And I think Dan Lawrence is not going to play. I think they're going to play Sam Curran. They'll probably stick with him at 8 because he, again, gives you a bit of all-round capability as well there. And they're missing Chris Wokes, which is a huge miss at the moment. 9 for Ollie Robinson, which is nice because I think Ollie Robinson, you know, as well can bat a little bit. And look, he's so damn good with the slope at Lords as well. He's going to be a nightmare, Ollie Robinson. He really will. Mark Wood, who has been surprisingly not that effective in England. His record in England is not amazing. But I think he needs, if he keeps on bowling the way that we know, if he bowls aggressively and he utilizes the slope at Lords as well, and especially the seam conducive conditions that we've seen in the past at Lords, I think he can get wickets here and he can perform quite well. He just needs to be consistent in his lines and lengths. And then at 11, Craig Overton is not a number 11. He'll probably be at 10 if that was the case. But I think they're going to go with Saqib Mahmood. I think they need to be brave and go with Saqib Mahmood. Now, Craig Overton's already in the squad, so it will be harsh to leave Craig Overton out. But I just think they've already got Sam Curran and Ollie Robinson in there who can bat a little bit. They need someone who's going to give them a bit of an injection of pace and a real threat. And I think Craig Overton probably will be able to do that at Lords because his line length is fantastic. With the slope, he will probably get some wickets. I just think Saqib Mahmood he has the X factor about him. And I think that is quite a good option to go with because Craig Overton and Ollie Robinson are similar types of bowlers. You might say, well, Saqib and Mark Wood are slightly similar, but I think they're slightly different. They're more different than Craig Overton is to Ollie Robinson, in my opinion. And I think Saqib Mahmood, with the new ball especially, you know, I think you're going to look towards who's going to use the new ball. Probably Sam Curran. And then does Ollie Robinson? Maybe. He doesn't really need it, though. I'd go with Sam Curran and Saqib Mahmood. Adil says Lawrence is most likely the one to be dropped for Haseeb Hamid. Yeah, potentially. Satak says one day unchanged, same as yours for his lineup. Okay, interesting. Craig Overton and Saqib Mahmood, are they any good? You haven't heard of them? Craig Overton has played for England in the past. He's played in the Ashes before in Australia, and he also played against New Zealand in the England-New Zealand series. So yeah, he's good. Like in the past, good line and length bowler, not particularly quick. He's gained a yard or two of pace even. Sorry. and has been a lot more effective. And then Saqib Mahmood, how can you not Saqib Mahmood? Saqib Mahmood played against Pakistan in the white ball series. He played. Oh, they haven't had though. India, I guess. Yeah, I guess maybe if you haven't seen that series, he's playing the PSL as well, Saqib Mahmood, and he's been fantastic for Lancashire in the domestic league as well. He's just a very, very good player. Saqib Mahmood is fantastic. So, yeah, he's good. He's really good. He's been on tour with England as well to Sri Lanka. He was on tour with them to India. Didn't get a game, but he is very exciting and he bowls very similar. His action is very similar to Waqar Younis, to be honest with you. It's pretty similar to Waqar Younis / maybe Abdul Razak kind of type of action. So it's interesting. So I reckon that's kind of the lineup they'll go with, which will be interesting. So let's see. Adil says Premier League starts on Friday. Can't wait. Messi at PSG. Oh my God, didn't expect that. Shocker from footy. Ramos versus Messi is now Messi with Ramos Barca connection. Yeah, crazy. Yeah. For those football fans, I mean, Lionel Messi leaving Barcelona for PSG is just a huge, I mean, wow. But anyway, back to cricket anyways. But yeah, that's absolutely huge, to be honest with you, wasn't it? Absolutely huge. Look, I mean, what do you guys think? Guys in the chat as well, let me know. Otherwise, we might wrap it up in the next kind of 5 minutes. But if you have any questions as well about the second test match, how do you think it's going to go? Do you have any questions about some of the players? Do you want some kind of information on them? Like Thakur was asking about Craig Overton and Saqib Mahmood. Do you have any questions about the India side? Or do you want my opinion on anything? Let me know. Or even if you just want to put in your predicted lineup, let me know as well. Obviously, the first test match was a draw, and Root was just phenomenal and has been the informed test batsman of the year. He's actually moved up to number 4 in the test rankings, and Virat Kohli's moved down to number 5, which is probably reflective, I guess, in the year, really, the last year and a half that both have had. And I think Root, if we look at who's the most informed red ball player currently, is probably Joe Root. So I think he has to be looked upon as someone who's performed extremely well. 109 in that second innings and then 64 in the first innings. So he is in very fine nick. And if you score a century in England, then it normally means you're in pretty damn good nick. And obviously KL Rahul performed really well as well. 84 from him, and then obviously a 26 from him as well. So Tark says England need to pull their weight. Root can't keep carrying them in every match. That's a very good point. I mean, if we look at the England batting lineup, no one else got past 50 in both innings apart from Joe Root. Now, that is a really, really scary stat if you're an England fan. Genuinely, like, absolutely scary stat. I look at that and it just makes me think that's really, really poor. And they should be worried about it. They genuinely should be. A couple of starts, some 20s, some 30s. It's just not good enough. I mean, apart from the 2 Joe Root scores, the highest score after that, 32. And that's Sam Curran, who was batting on the tail and just came out and tried to whack it. So, look, I mean, it's not great from England, is it? It's really not. And the openers and the top 3 are just in trouble, really, and they look really vulnerable. Burns, obviously, he has a bit of leeway because of that century against New Zealand, but he got a duck and 18, so it just doesn't look good. So the lineup is amazing. Without Stokes and Jofra, it's still a good lineup. It's true. I mean, look, it has to be said. I mean, they're missing Ben Stokes, they're missing Jofra Archer, they're missing Chris Wokes, and I reckon all 3 of those get into the team straight away in England, right at home. Jofra Archer, Ben Stokes, and Chris Wokes are all on the side. All in the side. So they're missing 3 players from their starting 11. And then obviously Anderson and Broad as well. So if you say, okay, well, at least one of them is going to play. So they're missing 4 starting 11 players. So it's a big miss, man. I mean, and we'll see how much it affects them. But they clearly do have a bit of strength and depth there, England. But I think the biggest issue for them is trying to get everyone fit. They've got a really packed schedule. They're playing the most test matches out of any side this year as well. So, and in this test, this cycle as well of the Test Championship. Adil says 2028 cricket in the Olympics. ICC put in an offer for it to happen. There's an issue of how many overs it's likely to be suited to the T20 format, says Nasser Sain. It's too long, T20. Too long. People won't pay attention to a T20. Think about the Olympics. I mean, boxing short, football's 90 minutes. T20 is like 3.5 hours. How are you going to get all the countries, especially if you're going to have quite a few countries playing, do that? I guess it would only work if you had a limited number of countries. I guess maybe you have qualifiers beforehand. I reckon it'll go to T10, which I don't want it to, but it probably will. And if you actually want to help cricket get out there, is a T20 really the way forward? Are people going to pay attention to a whole T20 game if they're looking at other sports, right? You're looking at athletics and all these other sports, and they don't go on for that long. So I don't know. Is the question. It'll be interesting. So Thakur says, let's face it, Broad and Anderson are legends, but they are aging. Yeah, I think Anderson in the UK, though, is still one of the best bowlers around, and that's what's so scary about him. But he says, do you think they should have backups for Anderson and Broad? Of course they should, and they do. That's the one thing that England do have, to be fair, is they have a lot of seamers at their disposal. So Ollie Robinson's... So if you look at it, they've got... If you exclude Broad and Anderson, right, and look at the other bowlers they've got, Sam Curran, Ollie Robinson, Mark Wood, Chris Wokes, Craig Overton, Saqib Mahmood. That's already 6. Who else? Is anyone else? Jofra Archer, did I miss him out? So they've got at least 6 other seam bowlers that are good enough to play for England, especially at home, right? Seam bowlers, that is. So they're never going to find like-for-like replacements. It's going to be impossible to replace 2 legends of the game. But in saying that, yes, the start says Jofra. Yeah, of course, yeah. I said him at the end, didn't I? Maybe I forgot him at the start. But yeah, I mean, Jofra Archer is a different type of bowler to those 2, but he is the future. But the issue with Jofra... No, I said Jofra at the end, Shatak. I said Jofra at the end. I said it at the end, because like you, I was thinking, how have I forgotten him? But yeah, so that's 7 then. With Jofra Archer, that's 7. 7 bowlers, right? They're doing all right. They'll be fine. I think in the seam department, they're fine. The spin department, I mean, Moeen Ali, it does a decent job. Is he a world beater spinner? No, he's an all-rounder, right, who does a pretty good job as a spinner, but he's an all-rounder, and really his batting is where the strength in his game really lies, and he can do a job with the ball, especially in England. But if you want to go to a continent where really the spinner needs to get multiple wickets, then you need him and someone else, realistically. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. But yeah, Rory Burns and Dom Sibley, I think, and Zach Crawley, they're going to be lucky, but I think they will keep their places. Haseeb Hameed, I cannot see... I just don't think he's going to be able to be able to break through in this test match. I think it will be the next one. So Tar says Dom Best, Leach, Moeen, Rashid. But Dom Best is not very good, and that's why they sent him back to Yorkshire. It's just... that is just the fact of the matter. He's just not very good at the moment. Put him in... put Dom Best, for example, into the Lions, get him to work on his craft, and they will have confidence in him. Jack Leach has done a pretty good job. But again, the reason why they're not going to play Jack Leach most likely is because he is improving, but he's not got the X factor, and then he doesn't bat. So they're thinking, well, Moeen Ali is probably just as good as Jack Leach bowling-wise, if not, okay, maybe a little bit worse, but he gives a lot more with the bat. So for them, in terms of balance with no Ben Stokes as well, it just makes a lot more sense. Adil Rashid is fantastic, white ball bowler. He's had a shoulder injury. He would be, I think, really good in the red ball scene. But the issue that he has is that will his shoulder hold up, which by the sounds of it, it won't. So, which would be a shame, obviously. So that's why he's not being included. Adil says, England, India, USA, Pakistan, Australia, New Zealand, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, I'd say keep it to these teams for cricket. If it's successful and more teams are asked to be included should they get in. You missed out. Well, West Indies, how do you do that, right? Because I guess that's not a country, is it? You have loads of different countries like Barbados, Jamaica, etc. So I guess they'd have to split it up for that, which is interesting. South Africa as well you missed. South Africa will be in there. I don't know. I mean, the USA, they're not really good enough, are they? But so if they are going to be in there, then really Ireland should be in there because Ireland are better than the USA. I don't know. So it says okay amount of spinners as well. Not really for England. I think they are struggling a little bit with the spin department. So we'll see how that goes. But the biggest issue for England at the moment is batsmen who get runs. Simple, right? Simples. Okay, guys, is there anything else you guys want to touch upon before I wrap up here? Because I think I'm gonna wrap it up. Actually, as well, it's worth noting tomorrow is Pakistan versus West Indies. It's in the Caribbean, even. Sorry. So I'm really genuinely looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a fantastic Test match as well. I will most likely be trying to stream, if not a little bit from both, at least one of them throughout the duration of the Test match. West Indies are playing Pakistan in Sabina Park in Kingston. I'm actually just genuinely looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good Test match as well. Pakistan, for me, should probably do well, but we shall see. So that says, Inzibai, have you been busy? You haven't been live streaming much, even if it's a Pakistan match. Yeah, I have been. I'm sorry, I apologize. I mean, obviously, Cash did one the other day for England versus India. There's been quite a bit. There's been quite a bit of live streaming going on for tennis, which I've done a bit of. But to be honest with you, other people have been doing streaming for me. So Kevin and Mohammed have been doing streaming for the boxing. So if you're interested in boxing, they're going to be doing one. They might be doing the weekend as well of boxing. They most likely will be. And we'll see. Adil says, Ashwin might cover England, you cover Pakistan, Fazan. I mean, I want to cover both, to be honest with you, is the ideal scenario because Pakistan and England are the two sides obviously I know the most about. I know a pretty fair amount about all the other countries as well, but those are the two that obviously I've got more vested interest in. So I'll probably try and do a bit of both. I might, for example, stream Pakistan, West Indies one day and then the next day stream England, India, for example, something like that. But also, to be fair, they're going to have both games going on they will be going on at the same time at some point in the day. I could just stream both at the same time, as in have, just have both on at the same time and watch both and kind of keep you guys informed. So, yeah. So starters, obviously you have a personal, but I like seeing you with a watch along. There haven't been much watch alongs. No worries. There will be more. Don't worry. There'll be a lot more coming up. And also, I've got a big surprise for you guys because we're going to be doing a sweepstake for the ICC World T20 as well. So there'll be probably maybe 8 of us, and I'll be doing a lot of streaming for the World Cup as well. So don't worry. Obviously, there's a lot of cricket going on, so sometimes it's just hard to keep it all up, especially when I do multiple sports. But I'm getting more help with the channel. We're getting more people on board. Helping with the boxing, the tennis, and even the cricket, like Cash did the other day. I think Venue might be doing some streaming for the the England-India match on Friday, and that'll be good. Ideal says, if you can't do both, I should come on your channel to give updates if possible. Yeah, maybe. Although I think Usher's probably going to do his own thing, though, Deal, potentially. I guess that might be what he's probably going to be doing. Some live streaming on his channel, I'd assume. I think he's doing one tomorrow around 1 p.m. I think for England and India. So if I do one, it'll probably be later on, probably the evening session. So we shall see. But yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. I'm looking forward to both Test matches. It's going to be fantastic. Genuinely, I cannot wait. And I might just try and stream both at the same time, which will be fantastic. Adil says, you never made a video on tennis grass thing you said you're going to make. I will be making it. Don't worry. I've got a note of things to do for the channel. It's actually a checklist, and that is on the checklist, Adil. So that will be done. I can't give you a specific time when, but it will be done, and I will be the first person to let you know when it is. But it will definitely be out when things die down a little bit. It'll most likely be after the US Open, because the US Open's gearing up, and obviously there's some Masters tournaments going on. So maybe in the off season will be good. Satak says, Usher seems good as well, but I like to see you stream. Thank you, Satak. I appreciate it, man. I really do. Yeah, I will be doing some. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll be doing some. I'm hoping to do some tomorrow and do some on Friday. Saturday, I'm actually playing cricket myself, so that would be hard to do on Saturday. But I might see if I can get someone else to stream, like Venu might be able to do it for me potentially as well. And then on Sunday, might be able to do Sunday as well, actually, potentially Sunday as well. But yeah, so don't worry. Lots of cricket coming your way, lots of watch-alongs as well, and of course, cricket videos. I actually have a lot of content. For example, like fielding, like backyard cricket videos that I've recorded that I need to edit and get through and upload. So those will be coming as well. So it says I've subscribed to the channel as well. Good. I'm glad you have. It's good, mate. It's good to support all channels that are. If people are doing good things, support them. That's what you want to do. And on that note, thank you everyone who has joined the live stream. I do appreciate it. Please remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like Satak is doing, which is good. Is doing it for people who are doing some good bits. So hopefully you think I'm doing a good job here as well. There will be watch-alongs coming up, as I said, as well for hopefully both test matches. For West Indies, Pakistan, and also for India, England as well. And then look, I mean, there'll be some reviews and stuff as well. So let's go. So I said, yes, we need to see you on Venu bat. Yeah, I have net footage as well. So I've got net battles and backyard cricket. So there's two. One is actually going to be like fielding stuff in the back garden, which is going to be hilarious, which I've recorded. So I need to edit that down because it's such a long video, and editing those types of videos does take quite a bit of time. So I need to find some time to do it. Star says, take care, no worries. Adil says, any WWE watch-alongs? No, unfortunately not. Not a fan of WWE, so I won't be doing that. Apologies, Adil. You would need to go somewhere else for that. We do boxing, but no WWE, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well. Remember to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to read us, help the channel to grow. We're on our way to 2K subs. That's what we want to get. So share the vids as well with people. Share the channel with people who they're interested. We also did an interview with Benny Howe recently, or I did. And he actually talked about Moeen Ali. He talked about Moeen Ali and so Benny Howe plays for Birmingham Phoenix in the 100, by the way. For anyone that doesn't know, he's a bowling all-rounder. And he talked about how Moeen Ali is as a captain, what he's like as a person. Also touched upon Daniel Vittori, who's the coach of Birmingham Phoenix as well. So the interview's on the channel. Go and check it out. And like the video, obviously, and have a listen, because I think he was really, really good. And what he talked about, he's very switched on, and he has a very forward way of thinking about things. So he's a very good person to have a listen to. So talks about Daniel Vittori, Moeen Ali, who else? And Chris Benjamin, obviously, who's done really well as well. So yeah, some interesting insight there. So go and give it a listen. I do recommend it. It's not particularly long. I think it's 20 minutes, and he knows what he's talking about. Also includes me stuttering on my words and gushing about Moeen Ali in front of a professional cricketer who's in the 100. So yeah, you don't want to miss that. Cool. Thank you very much, guys. Start says, looking forward to those videos. They will be out. I promise. They're coming. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.